Today we are we're taking on a mission that might sound on the surface just ridiculously simple.
Almost too simple, you might think.
Exactly. But we believe it holds some of the most profound and I think often overlooked wisdom out there for anyone, looking to perform better.
Hmm.
Our source material today it's deceptively straightforward. It focuses entirely on one single universal necessity.
Water. It really is the essence of life, isn't it?
Yeah.
And yet, because it's so pervasive, so easily accessible for most of us, thankfully,
Right.
it often becomes the very last thing we think to prioritize when we're trying to optimize our health or our energy or, our cognitive output. We seem to chase complexity.
We do. We're always looking for the next supplement, the next biohack.
The foundation is right there sitting in the tab.
Precisely. So, our mission for you today is a rapid but comprehensive deep dive into the non-obvious importance of proper hydration. We really want to move beyond the usual, oh, you should drink more water.
Yeah, the things everyone has heard a million times.
We want to get into the specifics, the mechanical, the biological benefits that water provides, from, driving energy at a cellular level all the way to maintaining superior mental focus. And we want to do it without drowning you in a lot of dense academic jargon.
Right.
We're targeting the simple habit that pays, I think, immediate high leverage dividends.
And our source material really kicks off by highlighting that exact paradox. It says drinking water is one of the easiest, cheapest, and most immediate ways to take care of yourself.
Easiest and cheapest.
But, and this is the big but, there's a massive functional gap between knowing it's easy and actually building that habit, making it a priority.
It's the ultimate paradox of wellness, isn't it? We just assume that if something is free and simple, it can't possibly be that powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So we forget about this simple, free habit until we start to feel that subtle, persistent drag. You know the feeling? The low-grade headache, that mental fog, just general sluggishness.
And we need to understand why. Why this simple, clear liquid fundamentally makes life better. It's about recognizing water not just as a beverage.
Right, not just to quench thirst.
But as the essential operating fluid for the entire human system.
Yeah.
It's critical for literally thousands of internal processes.
Okay, so let's unpack this then. To structure this deep dive, our source gives us 5 core areas where water operates as a primary benefit. And this really confirms it's not a single purpose tool. It's a multifunctional component for our well-being.
That's right. These 5 pillars really show water's role in this interconnected functionality. We're going to be looking at sustained energy production, optimized brain function, the regulation of skin health, maintaining temperature regulation, and finally, ensuring smooth digestion.
And what's crucial here, I think, is the synergy between them. That these aren't just isolated benefits on a checklist.
No, not at all.
They create a kind of positive feedback loop. Like if your digestion is smooth, your systemic comfort improves, which then boosts your energy.
And if your energy is better,
your focus is sharper. It's this whole cascading chain reaction, and it's all initiated by something as simple as maintaining your fluid balance.
Precisely. I mean, if we view the body as a highly complex machine, which it is, these 5 areas show that water isn't just lubrication. It's the universal solvent, it's the coolant, it's the primary transport mechanism for nutrients.
And waste.
And waste, yes. And it's even the structural maintainer for the shape of our cells. Recognizing these 5 pillars really elevates water from an afterthought to a core operating requirement.
So let's jump straight into those foundational roles. Let's start deep inside the system with what we're calling the internal engine. We're talking about pure energy production and the engine's fueling system. digestion.
We have to begin with energy, I think, because that's the most immediate, the most noticeable impact for most people. The source makes a very clear declarative statement here. It says, water gives you energy, making the body feel fresh and active.
And that feeling is so universal. You hit that 2 or 3 p.m. slump, you feel this kind of generalized tiredness, and the instinct is always to reach for an external stimulant.
Sugar or caffeine,
Yeah.
the usual suspects.
Right. But the source implies a much simpler internal shortcut. It says if you feel tired or slow, sometimes the most high return thing you can do is just have a glass of water.
And this connects directly and, profoundly to the mechanics of our cellular function. The reason water is an energy source isn't because it has calories, of course.
Oh, it has 0 calories.
It's because it facilitates the efficiency of the processes that create energy. We're talking about ATP, adenosine triphosphate. That's the energy currency of every cell in your body.
Okay, so tell us how water fits into that ATP equation, but try not to give us a full-on college chemistry lecture here. How does a glass of water suddenly switch the lights back on?
Right. No Krebs cycle diagrams, I promise. Think of it this way. Water is required for the critical process that actually releases the energy stored in ATP. It's a process called hydrolysis. But even before that, all the metabolic reactions that build up to making ATP in the first place, they all happen in a water-based and aqueous environment.
So the whole factory floor is basically flooded.
It has to be. And when we are even slightly dehydrated, the concentration of all the necessary ingredients gets too high. The solution becomes too thick, and the reactions, they just slow down. Everything becomes sticky and sluggish on a microscopic level.
I see.
Water comes in and it restores the ideal concentrations, allowing that entire energy assembly line to operate at its maximum design speed. So dehydration doesn't just make you feel tired. It mimics fatigue by physically slowing down your body's energy delivery system.
So that tired or slow feeling is essentially it's system drag. It's caused by internal friction and viscosity.
A perfect way to put it.
Let's explore that transport angle again then. How does water move the body from feeling merely, fresh to feeling truly active? What's the difference there?
Okay, so what's happening there is an optimization of the circulatory system, your blood. When we're even slightly dehydrated, our blood volume decreases a little bit, and its viscosity, its thickness, increases. Now think of your blood like river traffic.
Yeah.
When the water levels drop because of dehydration, the barge is carrying essential nutrients and oxygen. Your red blood cells, they start to run aground or they just move much slower. This forces the engine of the whole system, the heart, to pump much, much harder to move that thicker fluid.
So the fatigue we feel is actually our heart working overtime.
It's a huge part of it. That extra effort is perceived by the brain as fatigue. By just restoring your fluid balance with a glass of water, the blood viscosity returns to normal. This allows for efficient, low-effort circulation. The fresh feeling is the restoration of that internal harmony.
And the active feeling.
The active feeling is the result. It's the ability of your muscles and your organs to finally receive the oxygen and fuel they were asking for, but without the heart having to strain itself to deliver it. It's an immediate high return on investment intervention because the system instantly starts working less hard to achieve the same or better output.
So for you listening right now, if you are looking for that quick performance hack when you feel slow, it's not about introducing new fuel. It's literally just about putting the right amount of solvent back into the system to let the metabolic engine turn smoothly.
You're saving energy that would otherwise be wasted just fighting against that internal viscosity.
That's fascinating.
And water also facilitates the entry of those necessary resources and, just as importantly, the efficient exit of waste products through the lymphatic and circulatory systems. If that internal highway is clogged up because of low water volume, nothing moves efficiently.
Hmm.
And the physical result is a systemic feeling of sluggishness or inertia,
You replenish the water?
and the traffic flows again, freeing up vital energy.
Okay, so that's the energy side. Now let's look at the second part of this internal engine, the digestive system. This is fundamentally about processing and managing that energy supply. The core concept is clear. Water helps the stomach digest food and makes eating and moving easier for the body.
And this function is absolutely non-negotiable. Your digestion is the engine's refueling and its waste disposal system all in one. And water is essential for that entire process, starts from the very moment food enters your mouth.
We often forget that, don't we? That saliva is mostly water. It's the very first enzyme-rich digestive fluid we have. If you're dehydrated, even the initial physical process of swallowing, what's it called, bolus formation.
Bolus formation, yes. It becomes difficult. Food feels dry and hard to get down.
Right.
Then water is crucial for creating adequate digestive juices in the stomach. These are necessary for breaking down complex macromolecules like proteins. Then, as food moves into the small intestine, water acts as the medium through which all the good stuff, the nutrients, are absorbed into the bloodstream.
So if the intestinal environment is dehydrated, nutrient absorption itself suffers. You could be eating the best food in the world, but not getting the full benefit.
You're not getting the full benefit, exactly. But the most significant issue, and the one our source explicitly warns about, happens even further down the line.
And that would be the specific and rather uncomfortable warning about physical symptoms like stomach pain or constipation.
Correct. Constipation is perhaps the most visible and visceral consequence of not drinking enough water. When waste material moves into the large intestine, the body performs its final critical function of water reabsorption. Now, if the body is already operating at a fluid deficit, if it's already dehydrated, it becomes extremely efficient, or you could even say desperate, in pulling every last drop of moisture from that fecal matter.
That makes perfect sense. The body's just trying to protect its core systems by rationing the water it has left.
Yes, but the consequence of that rationing is that the stool hardens. It loses the bulk and the softness that it needs for a comfortable passage. This creates a bottleneck, and that leads to painful straining, abdominal discomfort, and often other complications like hemorrhoids.
It's all connected.
Water is the lubricant, and it's the necessary bulking agent to ensure comfortable, regular movement. And it works synergistically with dietary fiber. A lot of people increase their fiber but forget the water.
And that just makes things worse, right?
It can make it much worse. Fiber is almost useless without water because it requires that water to swell up, to get soft, and to bulk up, to push waste through the system.
So if you're struggling with moving things, as the source puts it, it's a direct sign that insufficient hydration is acting as a physical, painful bottleneck. It's just amazing how simple the solution is, just increasing fluid intake, versus how profound the discomfort of the problem can be.
And that pain, that discomfort, is a massive invisible drain on the very energy we just discussed. If your internal engine is struggling with basic digestion, it pulls resources, it pulls focus, and it pulls energy away from all other functions.
I never thought of it that way.
The discomfort itself directly contributes to that feeling of being slow or tired. So keeping the digestive loop smooth through proper hydration is a crucial step in reinforcing all the other energy and cognitive benefits.
Okay, so we've established the foundation. We have smooth energy flow driven by optimized cellular function and comfortable, efficient gut transit. That internal comfort is non-negotiable for high performance.
Absolutely. If the basics of energy and internal transport are covered, the entire system is primed and ready to support higher level functions.
Which, of course, naturally leads us to the command center. If the physical engine is running smoothly, we have to ensure the brain is also running on clean fuel. And this is where it gets highly impactful for anyone who's focused on productivity and learning. Moving on now to section 2, cognitive performance and focus. So if water keeps the physical engine running, it absolutely dictates the performance ceiling of our command center.
Yeah, the source is completely unequivocal on this point. The brain needs water to work well, and we need to be specific about why this relationship is so immediate. Brain tissue is approximately 75% water.
75%, that's huge.
It is. The brain operates within this incredibly delicate fluid balance. It's literally bathing the neurons in cerebrospinal fluid. So any deficit, even very minor dehydration, immediately impacts the electrical and chemical signaling required for high-level neural activity.
This is particularly relevant for you listening, the person who relies on sustained intellectual effort for work, for study, for creativity. We're talking about optimizing the very tools you use to acquire knowledge and perform tasks. The source lists 3 specific, crucial cognitive benefits that we get when we drink enough water. 1, you think better. 2, you learn better. And 3, you feel more focused.
And those 3 functions, thinking, learning, and focus, I mean, they're the absolute pillars of intellectual growth and productivity. When the brain is even slightly compromised by a fluid deficit, 2 things happen. First, the physical tissue volume can actually decrease slightly.
It shrinks.
It can, temporarily, which can trigger headaches or that feeling of mental fog. But second, and maybe more importantly, the concentration of the neurotransmitters and the electrolytes required for signaling gets disrupted. The communication between your neurons just slows down.
Let's delve into that thinking better claim for a second. If we connect it back to the transport system we were just talking about, thinking requires a massive amount of energy expenditure. So hydration optimizes blood flow,
Right.
which ensures the brain receives maximum oxygen and glucose delivery.
And that allows for faster processing speeds. That's the core mechanism.
Okay.
We call this mental acuity. Thinking better means less latency in information retrieval from your memory. It means quicker decision making. And it means significantly greater clarity when you're problem solving. It's the difference between, say, staring at a complex spreadsheet and feeling completely overwhelmed.
I've all been there.
And being able to mentally structure and tackle that information efficiently because your brain's processing power is fully available to you.
Then we have learning better. This must tie directly into memory encoding and retention. Learning relies on the brain's plasticity, its ability to form and strengthen new neural connections.
It does. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, optimizing your hydration is a direct, accessible way to improve your memory retention. When you're adequately hydrated, the internal environment of the brain is just optimal for forming and recalling memories.
And when you're not,
Dehydration not only slows down that physical communication across the synapse, the gap between neurons, but it also negatively impacts the prefrontal cortex. That's the area responsible for all the higher order processes like working memory and executive function.
wow.
There are studies that have shown that even a 2% drop in hydration can measurably impair tasks requiring attention, psychomotor skills, and immediate memory recall.
Just 2%. That's a powerful statistic. A 2% drop impacts immediate memory. That feels like a very, very low threshold for impairment.
It is. It's an incredibly low threshold. And it just demonstrates how sensitive the central nervous system is to its environment. Water isn't just carrying fuel to the brain, it's essential for managing the electrical environment of the neurons themselves.
And finally, the goal for any high performer, focus. Feeling more focused. Focus is the ability to sustain your attention and block out distraction. Why is hydration the key here?
Well, focus requires the brain to allocate all of its available resources to the task at hand. When we're even mildly dehydrated, that internal drag, that subtle sense of discomfort we mentioned earlier,
The faint headache, the sluggishness.
the dry mouth, exactly. These are all low-grade signals of distress that are constantly pulling your attention away from the task. Your brain has to allocate some of its precious resources to processing that internal noise.
So hydration essentially acts as a resource management tool. It eliminates the internal distractions.
Precisely. Hydration quietens that background noise. It frees up your cognitive resources specifically for sustained, deliberate attention. It helps you maintain vigilance. When you are adequately hydrated, your body and your brain are not fighting this minor fluid deficit, and that allows for longer stretches of deep work.
I see.
It creates the optimal internal environment for focused effort. We're moving from just, basic maintenance to true cognitive optimization, all by ensuring that fundamental fluid balance is correct.
It's truly remarkable that something as readily available as a glass of water can elevate these complex, high-level functions that are so crucial for our professional and personal growth.
It really is.
We're always chasing complex biohacks or supplements that cost a fortune, but the simplest, cheapest solution is the most fundamental one.
It speaks to the hierarchical nature of the body,
Yeah.
You can't build a stable, complex structure on a shaky fluid foundation. It's just not possible. If the fluid balance is off, every single higher function thinking, learning, focusing will degrade in quality, even if that degradation is subtle at first.
You might not even notice it consciously.
You might just think you're having an off day.
Hmm.
But hydration is the most powerful and easiest lever to pull for immediate, sustained cognitive enhancement.
Okay, so we've established the internal comfort, the energy flow, and the cognitive sharpness. Let's shift now to how water helps us interact with and regulate ourselves within the external environment and how it impacts our visible appearance. Section 3 delves into the external and regulatory benefits. These are the functions that keep us comfortable and maintain our protective barriers. And we start with what you call the body's air conditioning system, temperature regulation.
Yes. The core concept here is beautifully simple. Water helps the body stay cool and feel comfortable. This is all about thermal homeostasis, maintaining that precise internal temperature that's required for our cells to survive. It is an absolutely non-negotiable requirement of life.
The source explains the fundamental process, it says. When you are hot or sweating, your body loses water. Drinking more water keeps your body cool and helps you feel comfortable. But let's explore the specific mechanics of this evaporative cooling system.
It's fascinating how efficient this system is,
Right.
and it relies entirely on the unique physical properties of water. Sweating is the mechanism. Your body secretes liquid water onto the surface of your skin.
Right.
As that water transitions from a liquid to a gas, as it evaporates, it requires a substantial amount of heat energy to make that change. And it draws that energy directly from the surface of your body.
So it's literally pulling the heat out of you.
It's pulling the heat away from your core, lowering your temperature. In this system, water acts as both the essential medium and the coolant itself.
So it's a very high-stakes process. If we run low on the coolant on our water reserves, the whole system immediately becomes inefficient, and we risk hyperthermia, overheating.
Exactly. And this is why the deep dive into our source material highlights the implications for exercise or for hot weather. These are conditions that demand immediate and active fluid management. When you're exercising intensely or you're facing extreme ambient heat, your body has to ramp up its cooling efforts aggressively. This means an accelerated intentional loss of water through sweat. If that water reserve isn't immediately and adequately replenished, the body starts to prioritize its internal functions. It'll reduce blood flow to the skin.
Which seems counterintuitive.
It is, but it's a survival mechanism. But the result is it actually makes cooling less efficient. The core temperature then begins to rise, leading to discomfort, then heat exhaustion, and eventually a total collapse in performance.
So water is both the raw material for the coolant, which is sweat, and it's the primary medium for transporting heat from the core of the body out to the periphery, the skin. Without enough fluid, the engine literally overheats and stalls.
This really highlights the crucial need for dynamic fluid management. The source notes that more water is needed in these conditions. And this should be a huge signal to you, the listener, that the standard 6 to 8 glasses is merely a maintenance baseline.
It's for a relatively sedentary life in a temperate climate.
Exactly. Any introduction of environmental stress like heat or kinetic stress like exercise requires a proportional active increase in your intake simply to maintain the cooling capacity we all rely upon.
So it's not a static goal. It's not drink 8 glasses and you're done. It's an active management process that changes, maybe even hourly, based on your internal metabolic output and the external environmental factors.
Yes, to proactively hydrate to meet the demands you anticipate, not just react when you finally feel thirsty. By then, you're already behind.
And this leads us directly to the skin, which is the organ responsible for all this cooling, and it's the largest protective barrier we possess.
It is.
Yes, the cosmetic and protective layer. The core concept here is simple and very appealing. Water is good for your skin, keeping it soft, bright, clean, and healthy.
And the source provides that excellent dual benefit, which I love. It's both aesthetic, soft, and bright, and it's functional, clean, and healthy. And you really can't separate how we look from how we function.
Let's start with the functional side. Clean and healthy. What's the mechanism that keeps our skin clean and healthy beyond just, taking a shower?
This connects right back to the systemic flushing process we analyzed with digestion. The skin, through sweating, plays a role in eliminating specific toxins and waste products, right alongside the kidneys and the colon. Adequate water intake supports the body's natural ability to mobilize these compounds.
And if the body is low on water?
It struggles to efficiently excrete that waste, and sometimes that struggle manifests externally as, like, chronic congestion or just a lack of clarity in the skin.
So clean in this context implies an internal systemic cleansing that's supported by efficient water flow. The skin is like a final filtration layer.
Absolutely. And healthy implies structural integrity and resilience. The skin needs moisture to maintain its elasticity and its resistance to external stresses. When your skin cells are dehydrated, they lose volume, or what we technically call turgor.
Turgor. That's a great term, but for the listener, how should they visualize internal turgor? What does that feel like?
Think of it like a freshly inflated balloon, or a grape compared to a raisin.
Okay, good analogy.
When the balloon, or the cell, is full of water, its walls are taut and resilient. That's good turgor. When the balloon deflates slightly from dehydration, the surface becomes wrinkled, thin, and brittle. That's poor turgor. Water provides that necessary internal plumpness and resilience that is instantly visible on the surface of your skin.
And this is where the aesthetic benefits, soft and bright, come in. The soft quality is directly related to that elasticity, that turgor.
Yes.
And the bright quality must be a combination of that internal cleansing and the improved circulation we talked about in the energy section. Better circulation means better oxygen and nutrient delivery to the dermal layers.
Which leads to a healthier, more vibrant look, rather than a sallow, dull appearance. My synthesis here is that the skin acts as this dynamic, highly visible barometer of your internal hydration.
It's like a dashboard light for your body.
It really is. The source specifically links healthy skin appearance to adequate intake. If your skin looks dull, or it lacks softness, or it's showing fine lines prematurely, It's a physical signal that your internal systems, including your circulatory function and your waste processing, might also be operating below optimal capacity.
So hydrating for skin health is not just about vanity. It's confirmation that the underlying operating system is working well, that transport is efficient, and that cellular structure is being maintained. The external appearance is simply a very welcome side effect of good internal efficiency.
Exactly. These regulatory and aesthetic roles, cooling the body in dynamic conditions and maintaining the integrity and appearance of our protective barrier, they powerfully reinforce the message that water makes your life better. It supports your comfort, your function, and your resilience.
And it all just hinges on this simple intake. Your focus is better because you're not overheated, your energy is up because circulation and digestion are smooth, and you look healthy because your circulatory system is delivering what it needs to the surface. It's all one big system. We've now covered the profound why. Now let's transition into the practical application. How do we ensure we actually harness these vast interconnected benefits? Section 4 is the practical guide. How much is truly enough?
The core concept provided by our source is a necessary and accessible starting point. Most people need around 6 to 8 glasses of water every day.
That 6 to 8 glasses is the classic manageable benchmark. It's a very easy number to remember and to track. But we have to immediately address the critical nuance the source mentions, the variability.
Right. The source specifies that more may be needed if the weather is hot or if you exercise a lot. And this raises an important critical question for you, the listener. Is this 6 to 8 glasses framework really about a fixed volume? Or is it just a proxy for achieving equilibrium, a state that has to be actively adjusted?
The baseline is clearly designed for, generalized, moderate metabolic activity in temperate conditions. It covers your basic metabolic needs, the necessary transport, and the inevitable fluid you lose just through normal respiration, excretion, and minimal sweating.
But the moment you introduce stress, whether it's thermal stress from a hot day or kinetic stress from a high-intensity workout, the fluid loss due to active cooling increases dramatically. As we discussed, you are proactively secreting sweat to regulate your core temperature.
Right. If you spend an hour running or doing a heavy lifting session, you can easily lose the equivalent of several of those benchmark glasses in sweat alone, often without even realizing it. If you stick rigidly to that 6 to 8 glass rule, regardless of your activity, you are actively putting yourself into a substantial deficit. And you're negating all the energy, focus, and performance benefits we just spent this whole dive discussing.
So for the listener, the fundamental takeaway has to be reframed. 6 to 8 glasses is the minimum for survival and for avoiding the negative consequences. It is the floor, not the ceiling.
The starting point.
It's the starting point. The moment you introduce environmental heat or physical exercise, you have to actively supplement that minimum, and often substantially. It requires mindful management.
That sounds like a cognitive cost, though. We identified forgetting as the primary barrier to this simple habit, but now we're introducing the burden of tracking and adjusting. I wonder if we should pause and challenge the idea that this is a simple and free solution if this cognitive effort is required for optimal performance.
That's a very important distinction to make. The water itself is simple and free, yes, but the habit of drinking it correctly requires effort. We need systems to mitigate that cognitive load, and the best strategy is to make the tracking passive and physical.
Okay, let's discuss some practical ways to track intake to meet that dynamic minimum.
Well, since we're tracking glasses, the most practical method I've found is the container method, instead of trying to count individual cups throughout the day.
Which is impossible to remember.
It is. Instead, define your vessel. For example, if you use a 32-ounce water bottle, which is approximately 4 of those glasses, Your daily goal simply becomes finishing 2 full bottles. By defining the container and the quantity, you remove the mental burden of constant counting or journaling. The complexity of the task moves from how many have I had to simply, is it empty? Time to refill.
Or, as you mentioned earlier, you could tie it to existing routine anchors. A tall glass of water right when you wake up to break that overnight fast.
A great start to the day.
A glass before and after each major meal to aid digestion, and maybe a final small glass before bed. That easily gets you into that 6 to 8 baseline range, and the habit is anchored to actions you already perform automatically. No new decisions needed.
The goal is behavioral integration.
Yeah.
The simplicity of the solution, it's just water, should extend to the simplicity of the habit itself. Make it automatic so your brain doesn't have to waste resources on tracking the essentials.
Which brings us to the source's final overarching message.
And it's the perfect, profound conclusion because it loops right back to the introduction. Drinking water is simple and free.
That combination is exceptionally powerful. I mean, in a world that's full of expensive, complicated supplements, diets, and wellness regimes, this essential truth remains. The foundation of your energy, your focus, and your physical comfort is accessible and available to almost everyone.
And the summary of the impact is just so comprehensive. It elevates your life across multiple, interconnected domains. Cellular energy, mental performance, internal comfort, thermal regulation, and your outward appearance. It is the cheapest, most effective one-stop shop for systemic optimization.
And the source leaves us with a direct, encouraging call to action. It suggests a direct and immediate action you can take.
I love this part.
Go get a glass of water immediately after this deep dive.
That is the ultimate immediate application of knowledge, isn't it? That thank you feel from your body, that's the system just returning to efficiency. It is the immediate, subtle improvement in clarity, the ease in movement, the gentle restoration of fluid balance that your system constantly craves. It's the easiest, quickest win you can score for yourself today to directly impact your performance tomorrow.
So let's summarize what we've unpacked in this deep dive on the essential wisdom of water. We've tried to move past the common knowledge and into the actual mechanics of performance.
We established that water is absolutely crucial for energy by ensuring efficient molecular transport and minimizing blood viscosity. It prevents that systemic drag that we perceive as fatigue.
Right.
And it is paramount for internal comfort, helping the stomach process food and actively working with fiber to ensure a comfortable, pain-free digestive transit.
And crucially, we learned that water is the optimized fuel for the command center for the brain. It manages the concentrations of neurotransmitters and maintains cellular turgor to enhance your ability to think better, learn better, and feel more focused. It is, quite simply, accessible cognitive enhancement.
And finally, it manages our relationship with our environment. It acts as the body's mandatory air conditioning system for temperature regulation through evaporative cooling. And it maintains the soft, bright, healthy state of our protective layer, the skin, by supporting elasticity and internal flushing.
The knowledge is only valuable when it's applied, and the source provides the most accessible starting point. A non-negotiable minimum of 6 to 8 glasses daily, but adjusted dynamically for heat and activity. This small, simple habit yields large, diverse results across your mental and physical life.
And that leads us to our final provocative thought for you to consider. And it's based entirely on that need for dynamic adjustment we just discussed. If 6 to 8 glasses is merely the minimum threshold for maintaining basic function and feeling good, if it simply keeps you at a deficit, what potential measurable performance leap could truly be unlocked by moving beyond maintenance and tailoring your water intake precisely?
That's interesting. So you're saying think about the impact of matching your hydration perfectly to an intense training session or proactively optimizing your intake before a critical, high focus cognitive task like a big exam or a presentation.
Exactly. What is the difference between simply avoiding dehydration and consciously leveraging hydration for peak performance? That's the next level of understanding this simple, essential element.
Take care. And keep thinking about the profound impact of optimizing the simple, fundamental things in your life. We invite you to continue your own exploration of self care fundamentals.
Take care and keep drinking water.